It is with utmost pleasure and gratitude that I congratulate and welcome you to the 10th Assembly after your success in the last general election. For the returning members, it is good to have you back. Your experience remains valuable to the building of the legislative institution. For those coming to the National Assembly for the first time, including members-elect from the state houses of assembly and legislative council across the nation, the National Assembly looks forward for the ingenuity and energy you are about to dispense into the system. To all elected members, I assure you that the National Assembly management and the staff are prepared to provide the necessary support you will need to make your next 4 years in the federal legislature memorable and resourceful. Be conscious that the National Assembly bureaucracy is committed to the core values of legislative activities in our great nation, Nigeria. The National Assembly management embraces corporate strategies in providing legislative support services. In the last few years, the National Assembly bureaucracy has been expanded to 12 directorates and 67 specialized departments rendering different but interrelated services. The directorates include Senate Directorate, House of Representatives Directorate, Directorate of Human Resources and Staff Development, Directorate of Finance and Accounts, Directorate of Legal Services, Directorate of Legislative Budget and Planning, Directorate of Estate and Works, Directorate of Procurement and Supplies, Directorate of Research and Information, Directorate of Health Services, Directorate of Interparliamentary Relations and Protocol, and Directorate of Parliamentary Security and Special Duties. I wish to reassure you of our resolute commitment towards the success of your constitutional responsibilities.
The orientation of members of the National Assembly is not only important, but has become a mandatory exercise, especially because of the unfortunate high turnover rate of legislators, which has become a recurring decimal after every general election. Electoral statistics of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 9th assemblies show that more than 65% of legislators did not return to the succeeding assembly. Structure of the National Assembly. The legislative institution is organized in such a way that bureaucrats, employees, and the political functionaries, that is, elected officials, work side by side. The National Assembly is divided into the political structure and the administrative structure. The political structure of the National Assembly is made up of elected members of the Senate and House of Representatives, charged with the responsibility of making laws for the peace, order, development and good governance of Nigeria. Sections 47, 48 and 49 prescribe that there shall be a National Assembly for the Federation consisting of a Senate and the House of Representatives. The Senate consists of 109 senators, 3 from each state and 1 from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. The House of Representatives consists of 360 members representing constituencies of nearly equal population. The Senate is headed by the President of the Senate, assisted by the Deputy President of the Senate and other principal officers, while House of Representatives is headed by the Speaker, who is assisted by the Deputy Speaker. The history of modern legislature in Nigeria began with the establishment of Legislative Council in 1862 in the Lagos colony by the British colonial powers. Self-rule was attained in some quarters in 1957 and independence on October 1960. there were a series of military regimes before the 1999 elections, which ushered in steady democratic rule, with the Fourth Assembly, which ran between 1999 to 2003, the Fifth Assembly between 2003 to 2007, the Sixth Assembly between 2007 to 2011, the Seventh Assembly between 2011 to 2015, the Eighth Assembly between 2015 and 2019, and the Ninth Assembly, which ran between 2019 and 2023. The life of an assembly commences on the first day of sitting after a general election pursuant to a proclamation by the President. The life of that assembly ends upon a dissolution or at the expiration of 4 years from the day of its first meeting. It is pertinent to note that the National Assembly derives its roles from Chapter 1, Part 11, Section 4 of the 1999 Constitution as follows: power over public funds, power to alter the Constitution, creation of new states, ratification of treaties, oversight of the executive, confirmation of appointees, removal of the President from office. Role of members of the National Assembly. Members of the National Assembly play three main roles. 1. The legislative role. Here, members debate and pass laws, make resolutions, and move motions through which the institutions of government endeavor to guide the country's progress. 2. The representation role. Members represent their constituents and present their views to Parliament. And 3. The oversight role. Members demand accountability from the executive by raising different issues on the floor, on field assessment and invitation of government ministers and officials to appear before its committees on any matters or investigation. The National Assembly, in line with the 1999 Constitution, has standing committees which facilitate the legislative process. This is because the volume and complexity of legislative process require time and certain amount of specialized knowledge. The purpose of committee system is also to guarantee effective working of the legislature. A legislative committee is a subdivision within a legislative chamber that allows groups of legislators to review policy matters or proposed bills and carry out investigation more closely than would be possible by the entire chamber. The mace. The mace is a symbol of authority of the Senate and the House of Representatives. It is placed in the upper bracket of the table during all sitting, except when the Senate or the House of Representatives is in a committee of the whole, when the mace is placed in the lower bracket. The mace is always in the custody of the Sergeant at Arms, who is also in charge of maintaining and keeping order during proceedings. The removal of the mace signifies the end of the day's proceedings. Its removal from the platform during sittings renders decisions and deliberations in the chambers null and void. The gavel. The gavel is a symbol of authority and the rights to act officially in the capacity of a chair or presiding officer. It is used to call for attention or to punctuate rulings and proclamations. It is customarily struck to indicate the opening, call to order, keep the meeting calm and orderly, and closing or adjournment of proceedings. Committees of the National Assembly. Apart from their lawmaking responsibilities, members are also assigned to committees and subcommittees. Committees are the pistons that drive the functional engines of the legislature. The committee arrangement greatly eases the lawmaking process through division of labor. By their contributions in committees, members play a more significant role in the formulation and consideration of public policy than they do in open debate on the floor of the House. Committees are subdivisions of the Senate or House established to aid the parent body in the preparation and detailed examination of draft laws or other legislative matters for consideration. The effectiveness and efficiency of committees reduce the time needed to perform the various legislative tasks before the parent body. Thereby, the practice ensures and encourages decentralization, specialization, and division of labor. The various types of committees include special committees, standing committees, joint committees, conference committees, ad hoc committees, committees of the whole House, committee of supply. The committee is managed by a committee secretariat made up of civil servants who offer support services to the committee. The administrative structure. The bureaucracy or administrative functionaries provide the required support services and also operate the facilities to enable legislators perform their functions. Responsible to the two houses is the clerk to the National Assembly, who is also the accounting officer of the National Assembly. He is assisted by the deputy clerk, who acts in the absence of the clerk. Servicing each of the chambers are the clerk of the Senate and the clerk of the House of Representatives. Each house is a legislative directorate headed by the clerks and composed of directorates that perform legislative duties in the respective houses. The directorates are headed by secretaries, equivalent of permanent secretaries. Each directorate is comprised of several departments headed by directors. There is also a National Assembly Service Commission, NASC, established under the National Assembly Service Act 2014. Under the Act, the Commission is saddled with all staff appointments, promotions, and discipline. The Commission also sees to the formal engagement of legislative aides who are engaged at the privilege of their political principles. It is also important to mention the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILDS, an organ of the National Assembly established by an Act of the National Assembly in 2011. It is a center for research and publication on democratic governance and legislative practice and procedures. It is also a center for continuing education on democracy and legislation. It offers refresher courses for national and state legislators, staff, committee clerks, and political aides on legislative practice and procedure, democracy, and good governance.
On behalf of the entire management and the staff, I welcome you once again to the National Assembly.